Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday, the final Sunday before Seahawks football begins. Real Seahawks football begins. So, 7 days away officially from a real Seahawks game. 4 days away from football action, but 7 days away from the stuff we really give a crap about. And I'm going to go ahead and offer up my final schedule prediction for the season. I did one right after the schedule came out. But obviously, we have more information now, so we should keep it going with the new information that we have gained from this preseason, from training camp, from all the things that have happened between the schedule release and now. First of all, let me just state this real quick because some people are probably wondering. This is basically just a quick and dirty recap of the schedule prediction that me and the Hawks Nest did yesterday night on stream. So if you watch that stream or you watch the video of the stream and you saw my picks for each game, you've already basically seen this information. I haven't changed anything from yesterday. Like, we haven't learned anything new from yesterday that would make me change my mind. So this is just going to be the same stuff I had in the stream with the Hawks Nest last night, but presented a little more succinctly. Instead of over 2.5 hours, it's going to be over maybe 10 minutes. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at this schedule. 18 weeks, 17 games. Starting week 1 at home versus the Los Angeles Rams. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how anybody wants to frame this. This should be the definition of an easy win. This Rams team made basically no effort to get better this offseason. This Rams team lost. People are talking about the stuff the Rams are getting back this season. Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. And by the way, I don't think they're going to have Cooper Kupp anyway. And Matt Stafford. But I think people are forgetting some of the things that the Rams lost from last season. Guys like Greg Gaines, A'Shawn Robinson, Allen Robinson, Jalen Ramsey, who was their best player against us in Week 17 when we still beat them, by the way. Guys like Taylor Rapp are no longer there, I'm pretty sure. Leonard Floyd's no longer there. They lost a lot of important pieces of that team from even last year when they were bad. Like, last year they were bad, but even though they got some of these guys back, I think they're going to be worse this year. And while getting some of these key pieces back is nice, they lost a lot of stuff as well. So I'm going to say this right now. There's no excuse for not winning this game and winning it pretty easily at home. You come out a little sleepy, you sleepwalk a little bit through the first quarter. Okay, that happens. But at the end of the game, you should be able to find a way to win this one. So that's 1-0. Week 2, we go to Detroit to play the Lions, upstart team that played really well at the end of the season last year. Didn't start the season out well enough to make the playoffs, though, so they figured to keep that momentum going this year, except we often see that doesn't happen. Often the team that gets hot at the end of the season after struggling early on just kind of goes back to struggling. So that's no guarantee of anything. Now, I do think this Lions team is on the right track. I didn't love their draft, but they did make themselves a little bit better. I didn't love their offseason, but it was I'd say I liked their offseason. And there's reason to believe that team is going to be good. They should be good offensively again with Amon-Ra St. Brown leading their way. They added Jahmyr Gibbs, a top running back to replace Swift, who was always hurt. But I still think their defense is going to have some problems. We roasted that defense last year. It's in a dome. I think we go into Detroit and get the win. So we start 2-0 at that point. Week 3, home against Carolina, rookie quarterback behind a bad offensive line equals something. Something that leads to a Seahawks win. Carolina's got a nice little defense, and they do have some positive things on that offense to at least get them started, but overall, I don't think it's going to be a good enough unit to support the day. A lot of people are going to point to last year's game against the Panthers where they kind of ran over us. There were some things going on in that game that were pretty extraordinary. For one, that was one of the games where our run defense was legitimately worst in the league type territory. I don't believe our run defense is going to be that bad this year, even though it may be bad. And this is the most important thing to me. When we played Carolina last year, we basically had no running back. That should not be the case in this game. Like, if we get to week 3 and we're already out of running backs, something really, really went wrong. So I'm going to say we're able to at least balance the offense out, and that's going to be enough to not turn the ball over so much, and you can get a win at home against a Panthers team that should be a little below average this year, if I had to guess. All right, so that gets you to 3-0, and then you're going into week 4 at New York, Monday Night Football, primetime, first primetime game of the year for this team. And this Giants team, they don't do it in the most splashy way, but they get it done. They have a good coach. They're well coached. I like their defense with Wink Martindale. I think they're going to have a good defense again this year. Their offense is not great, but they avoid turnovers. They stay within themselves, and they find ways to win tight games because they just hang around. They just hang around, make some plays at the end, and get it done. So I look at this one. I look at the matchup. I look at Saquon playing for his next contract. I look at some of the improved weapons that the Giants got for Daniel Jones. And I feel like this is the first loss of the year. I feel like we're dropping this one in New York. It's on the road. Prime time. Loss. Then we got the bye week, week number 5. Not a great bye week, but we'll see how we end up utilizing it. We may end up going into this bye week very grateful we had it. Who knows? If we have a bunch of injuries early on this season, we lose a lot of guys to injury, then we're going to be happy we're taking week 5 off. So it just kind of depends on the state of the roster. Week 6, we go into Cincinnati to play the Bengals, 10 a.m. This Bengals team, I think, is going to be on the very short list of Super Bowl contenders in the AFC. I don't think that should surprise anybody with how good they've been. They have an amazing quarterback. They have an elite receiver room. They have an elite offense all the way around pretty much, and their defense is putting some stuff together. So put it all together, and I think this could be a double-digit loss. It's a game where you just get outplayed. You don't get blown out necessarily, but you get outplayed. So that gets us to 3-2 after 5 games. Gets us to week 7 at home against the Cardinals, the one team that is tanking harder than the Rams right now. They are taking it to a whole nother level right now in Arizona, trading some of their better players for nothing just to get rid of them. You look at that team right now offensively, who's going to be the starting quarterback? We don't know. They've got a nice little tackle combo, I guess. But other than that, there's not a lot to speak of on that offense. They got okay receivers, I guess. But even that's not as good as it's been the last several years. D-Hop's not there anymore. They don't got great stuff at running back. And defensively, we're talking about Buda Baker, Zaven Collins. Maybe he breaks out this year. And that's it. So there's nothing on this team that should threaten you at home in week 7, coming off a couple losses. So that's 4-2. Week number 8, we got the Cleveland Browns at home wearing the throwbacks. I mean, that's got to be a win just on that, right? Like, I don't know what Cleveland is going to be this year. I think they can be okay. They've got a good offensive line, but everything else about them is just kind of okay. I don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to do this year. That's a wild card. I honestly feel like there's a lot of stuff on this team that's a wild card, but it probably balances out to have them be pretty okay this year, right? Like maybe a 9-win team. So getting them at home, I think we get it done, and I think that pushes us up to 6-2 at that point. No, I'm sorry, 5-2. So yeah, 5-2. Week 9 against Baltimore, we go to Baltimore, 10 a.m. Sunday. I may regret this one. I think this is a game we find a weird way to steal. There's always a couple of them. Sometimes one goes one way and the other goes the other way and it cancels out. I'm going to say this is a game that we steal. We find a way to win a game we shouldn't necessarily win. Find a way to upset the Ravens on the road. And after this game, everybody's going to be like, them Seahawks, they're coming in hard, they're coming in strong, they're coming in hot. They are Super Bowl contenders. This is the game that gets everyone to take us seriously. Okay, so week 10, we play the Commanders. Maybe the final year they will be called the Commanders. It is a home game, probably getting Sam Howell. We're getting a team that does have some pieces on the offense and a very good defensive line, but they're lacking in a lot of other areas, namely quarterback. Other than Arizona, who's less sure of what's going to happen with the quarterback spot in any city than in Washington. It's them and Arizona. And at the end of the day, you can't be losing to Sam Howell at home if you're expecting to be a good team. So I say we get that win. Then we've got the road tilt against the Rams. I don't know what's different at this point. Maybe they'll have traded Donald by this point. Maybe Stafford will have retired. Probably won't be better. It'll probably be worse. They got a few rookies who they're going to be playing this year who by this point might be a little more ramped up than they were in week 1. But when you look at the ways this Rams team could have really bottomed out by then, I don't think it makes up for it. So I'm going to say that's another pretty easy win. Not scared of playing in LA. And that gets us to one of the most interesting games of the year, Thanksgiving, November 23rd against the 49ers at home. This is a big one. This is a monster one, people. This could be the game that really gets people on board with you, that gets people really, really hyped up on what you're building, on what you're becoming. And if you find a way to win this game, and I believe that we will find a way to do it, I think this Niners team is in for a little more trouble this year than I was expecting. I think that I was overestimating them at the time I did my initial schedule prediction. They've got quarterback issues, they've got offensive line issues, they've got kicker issues, they've got Bosa issues for now, and who knows where those issues are going to be by the time we get to week 12. They could still be there, they could be worse. There's some bad vibes in San Fran right now, so I'm going to say we get that win, 6 games in a row, and at that point we are cooking with a 9-2 record. So what could possibly go wrong at that point? Well, you have the last 6 games of the season, which I think are going to be... It's going to be a gauntlet. There's no doubt about it. Week 13, we go to Dallas. Dallas may have the best defense in the league this year. If not, I imagine it'll be at least top 3. Should be very, very good. Question is, what is their offense going to be able to do? Is their offense going to be able to hang? And this is the tough question. Is Dak Prescott falling to pieces? Was last year indicative of him just losing his ability to protect the ball and making more mistakes because the team around him is starting to fall off? I don't know. Is Michael Gallup going to get back to form from previous years? That's tough to say. It was a major injury, but usually they need a year to come back. Tony Pollard? How's Tony Pollard going to do coming back from that injury that he had last year in the playoffs? I feel like this one is a loss. Could go either way. I'm open to the possibility of Dak handing us this game with making a lot of mistakes, but I feel like Dallas gets us low-scoring game. Their defense just gets the better of us on this day. Week 14, we go to San Francisco, and I don't think we've advanced so far. We're sweeping these guys. At this point in the season, the Niners might be fighting for their life. They're going to be more hungry than us. They're going to be more desperate and driven than us. Put it all together, I'm going to say we lose to the Niners. Although I will say there is some possibility that this turns into the true season from hell. Like the true season from hell in San Fran. Like quarterback stuff falls apart, the offensive line falls apart, like everything could just go. So don't rule it out, but for now I'm saying a loss. And then Philly at home. I like that it's at home, but I don't really like anything else. It's a bad matchup. I think that Philly team they might be able to beat us on cruise control. Their roster is so well built. They've got so much good stuff going on there. I just don't see it. Don't see us beating Philadelphia even at home. So that's a 3-game losing streak. That'll set you straight. Week 16, however, we're going to right the ship, go into Tennessee, a team that is on the cusp of rebuilding but isn't quite there yet. By this point in the season, they'll probably have one of their young quarterbacks starting. Derrick Henry, I don't know. He's getting to the point where I'm wondering how much he has left. He's getting older. He's got a lot of miles on him. By this point in the season, he could just be toast. They don't got a lot at receiver. They don't have an offensive line. Their defense isn't what it used to be. Add it all together, Seahawks go into Tennessee and get the win. Thankfully in December and not in September, because you don't want to play in Tennessee in September. Week 17 against Pittsburgh. This is going to be the weird game. I can't really justify it. I know the Steelers are going to be pretty good this year. But I know that theoretically I can't really justify us losing to them at home. But this is going to be the game, I think, where weird stuff just happens and we lose a game we should have won. Like the offense just doesn't show up. And we can't take advantage of some turnovers, and maybe we turn the ball over a few times ourselves, it gets ugly, and then we just lose a close, stupid game by some annoying score. Okay, so that puts us at 10 and 6. And that sets up for this final game at Arizona. That should be another easy win. I don't really have much to say about it that I already haven't said. By this point, Arizona might be even more destitute than they already are. So that gets us to 11 and 6, which should be good enough for the playoffs. Maybe good enough for the division, although you got to like the Niners to win at least 12 games right now. Don't be shocked if some things go wrong in San Fran and 11 and 6 gets a division title. All right, so that is what I got for the schedule prediction. Let me know what you guys think. Again, just a summary of last night's stream in 15 minutes. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. I say 11 and 6. What say you?